We are live, Chioma. Welcome.
Hello, it's so good to see you, and it's lovely to see you. Can you see me?
I can see you, yeah, and I'm so excited to chat with you. We had an opportunity to do something that I don't always get to do with women from around the world. We
Yeah,
recently were in, I don't know what you call it, but like a really cool women's group where I
yeah,
left so
yeah.
inspired just hearing your stories and chatting with all the women there. It was led by another lady in the UK, Ramona,
Mm-hmm.
and absolutely loved that situation. I got to hear your heart for women too, because
That's
I
right.
know you as a parenting expert, but we were sitting around on that International Women's Day, I think it's called,
It
and
was, yeah,
yeah. So we're going to talk about parenting, which is one part of your life. We're going
yeah.
to talk about what you do, but also how you inspire women and why your heart is for inspiring women as well. Jenny Osborne just said, "Hey, fabulous woman." We
Hi,
love,
Jenny.
we love Jenny.
Yes.
Audience, please give us questions, comments. We love to hear, and it helps us. So, Chioma, before we begin, tell us what you do. What is it that you do?
Okay, so I'm Chioma, and I actually work for an international development charity, and I was heading up their youth and young adults department, and now I'm their engagement manager for London and the South. So we work raising awareness about. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so we work raising awareness about global persecution of those who face religious discrimination for their faith. And so that's my day job. But alongside that, I have many passions. So working with young people is one of them. I've done that for, gosh, over 15 years or so. But alongside that, I also, especially in the time I was working with young people, realized that parents also needed support because it's one thing to do the work with young people, they go home to their parents. And I think sometimes they say their parents undo the work that we do. And so last year, during the pandemic, myself and a school nurse friend, we went to school together. We started running these parenting workshops. Thank you, Ramona. We started,
Hi, Ramona. We were just talking about you.
yes, we were. And so we started running these workshops for parents because we realized that parents were suddenly homeschooling, working somewhere, suddenly solo parents, like I became a solo parent in the pandemic. And so really it was all about supporting parents during that time. But also another thing I'm passionate about is about diversity and inclusion because it's something that I've seen, gosh, in this part of town that I live in, I've seen, and I think after, actually before George Floyd, I remember I started talking about it, and people were sort of like, it's not that big in the UK because we say the US has a problem with race and stuff, but we say the UK we are okay. But actually, I was like, nah, the UK we have our own issues, much more insidious and much more covert than say times past. And so that got me really started the conversation. But yeah, I'm also a trustee of Girls Brigade and used to be a school governor. So lots of things that I do. Yeah. So that's a
You
little bit about me.
you were featured in Forbes. Can you tell us about this?
Well, so during the pandemic again, it was a group that I was part of, and they were saying we wanted some information to support parents during this time, and so we all had to write an article or a little bit of a paragraph, really, of some tips for parents. And so I wrote a tip for parents to support them during the pandemic.
Okay, this is amazing. So, are you still coaching women and parents?
I am doing that. So I'm in the process of setting that up at the moment, but I still do a lot. I get parents come to me all the time about different things because I was quite privileged to work in schools for a number of years. So really understand the education system. And I know not everyone really does that. So sometimes there might be cases in schools that are going on and they'll say, oh, can you talk me through? Or even things like careers for young people, because I also have a teenager who's sort of thinking about next steps. So he's like 17 now and he's thinking, what next? So, okay. Oh, Jenny, yes, you feel like you're struggling with your teenager right now, hoping that I have some wisdom to share. I mean, I would say something that teenage stage, and I'm sure you know this, Christelle, it's not easy. But one thing that I say about teenagers is that it's part of their season of trying to get into adulthood. And so they're trying to find themselves, they're wrestling with identity. And actually, a lot of those things are not personal. And I think if we realize and remember that whatever is going on for them is their hormones, puberty, that it's not actually us. It's not us, it's them and their emotions. And if we can take a step back from that, because it's so easy to get worked up over, and I do. So I'm speaking as an expert, but also with the lived experience as well. But taking a step back and saying, okay, whatever is going on for them, how can I support them or give them a moment that they need, and then go back and work with them and have that relationship where you can have the conversation. And sometimes they don't want to talk about it because they're just, especially boys. And I know, Jenny, you have boys too. So sometimes they don't want to talk about it, and it's giving them that space. But then going back and saying, I know you were upset earlier. How can we work together? What can I do for you? I'm here if you need to talk about it. Yeah.
I have a question too, because we're all three of us are moms of boys.
That's right.
And I, in particular, have been a solo mom of boys for quite a few years. And even before separation, I really was a solo mom of boys. And so my question is, how do you parent boys as a solo mom? What is your advice?
Wow. I mean, parenting boys as a solo mom is not easy, but and I just want to commend you actually, because it really isn't easy, because boys are so different to girls and women as well. And this was something I found out, that they're different, and they're actually sensitive, more sensitive than we give them credit for, because we actually, society says men, don't cry and all, but actually I found that boys and men, they're sensitive human beings. And so one, I want to commend you and say, well done, because you're raising some great young men there. But secondly, to say the relationship is the key that you seem to have built with them, and you seem like you have that growth. Keep it up and don't ever lose that communication line where they know their boundaries, they know where they stand with you, they know that you love them, you care for them. But the other thing I say as well, and I think you do this, is helping them to find that thing that they're passionate about, that they love. Mm-hmm. So like the music, because I think one of your boys does music, if I remember correctly, and art and, design. So helping them to find those and explore and find that gift in that, because they will pursue that and give it their all. Because young people, as I said, they're searching for identity, they're searching for fulfillment, they're searching to find meaning and purpose. And this is why you see in London and in many other cities, you see boys who gravitate towards things like groups and gangs, because they want to be accepted. And if somebody's shown them that love and they're not getting anywhere else, they will do anything for that, because we all have that innate desire, and it's on that Maslow's hierarchy of needs, to be loved, to be accepted, to be to know that we belong somewhere. And so really, so I just want to say you're doing a great job. And the other thing I would say as well, a positive male role model, I think, can help. So if you've got uncles or brothers around you, I find that really helps. So I remember at one point I was running a youth project in Bromley, and it was all boys that were there. And I remember thinking, gosh, what do I have to offer them? I'm only a lady, I've got nothing. But those boys were coming consistently every week. They might not have gone to school, some of them, but they would come to the youth project. And it was that we created a safe space. And so that's one thing I would say, creating a safe space in your home that your boys can be themselves. And that's why I say, it sounds like you're doing that already. You have created that safe space for them to be. And then the boundaries are really important. Children love boundaries. They love to know where they stand, so the boundaries are key, because boys, especially, I say, they push their boundaries. They push how far can I go? So them knowing and even working through it with them and say, okay, these are our family non-negotiable, rules and you agree with them that we will not do this, or we will do this, and those values, and affirm them, because in this day and age, especially with teenagers and pandemic and lots of things have happened, it's so easy. young people's mental health is an all-time low. And so I really encourage you to affirm them, to support them, to let them know that, they're absolutely amazing. Because society will tell them otherwise sometimes, or their feelings will tell them otherwise. But knowing that you believe in them, you're rooting for them, you're cheering them on, those are some amazing things. And then finally, exercise. Again, boys love to be active, and so, but when they get to teenagers, they want to sleep more and they don't want to do the exercise, but really encouraging them. So I always say to my big one, let's go for a walk, even if it's just for a walk. get some fresh air, get him out of the house, or finding the sports that he likes. So things like basketball he likes. So really encouraging that as well.
I want to say hi to Gabriella and hi to Melissa. They're both popping on and saying hi.
Oh, hi, lady.
Gabriella. We're chatting with Gabriella next month, and she's currently doing safeguarding. Safeguarding, interesting stuff. So we'll get to talk to her about that.
Oh,
is an early childhood expert. So it's fun to have them pop in and say hi. Something happened with my youngest son. We were at a local YMCA, and this, I will never forget this. And I just thought, this is so powerful. I wish more adults would take the time to do something like this. But my son and I were at a local YMCA. Mm-hmm. And here in the United States, the YMCAs are very sports related. It's somewhere we can go work out. They have sports teams, that kind of thing. So he was joining me to work out. And this woman, powerful woman, you could just tell there's something different about her presence, came up to him and said, I want you to know, young man, that you are doing great things. And just started speaking these positive words into his life and looking into his eyes. And I thought, if more people did that, because she had no idea what he was going through. She had no idea that he didn't have a dad in his life. No idea. And this woman just came up to him, spoke positively and affirming. And I thought, that is powerful. That is good stuff. So
absolutely. And I think that's the thing I was saying about creating that safe space, because I always say it takes a real village to raise children, because there'll be days that we're just tired of them and them of us, but actually somebody else who is in the mix, who can love on them as well, is so valuable, is so important. And I think being intentional in the things that we do in raising boys, and I think that what you've just described there is so powerful, and that's how young people get groomed, because all it takes is for that person to come every day, tell them these amazing things about themselves, and shows them that love. Then before you know it, if someone, and that's the positive and the reverse of it, that there she was affirming him, which is absolutely amazing. That can also be used in negative, where someone can come, affirm them and groom them. I think that's why it's important for us as family, is to do that. And I do that a lot, like with young girls. I really, tell them they're beautiful, because I always say, why do we have to let just the men tell our girls especially how beautiful they are? Why don't we tell them and they're absolutely amazing, and without coming from the opposite sex? That's why.
Absolutely. Being able to, knowing that we are amazing based on who we are and not what we're doing is something that, and I actually want to talk to you about this. Gabriella says, oh, I love that. One of my favorite things is seeing people light up when someone actually sees them and speaks into that.
Yeah.
Jenny says, gosh, what a beautiful thing for someone to do.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk to you now about your heart and passion for women. Something that happened on Facebook, and I want to see this transpire. Oh my word, how do I get out of my I'm trying to show comments and hide them while talking to you.
Multitasking.
Okay, one of the things that I wanted to ask you about is your heart and passion for women. And we had this mini little conversation going on Facebook where we're talking about having a women's retreat. And you and Ramona were like, oh, we should do one in our world. And I was thinking, I want to come to yours. Wait a minute. I will fly to the UK and I will come to yours. This would be such a power. Oh my word, the powerful things that would come out of this. So tell me about your heart and your passion for women and why you want to inspire women. Why is that important?
I think as women, we are powerful. God has made us in his image, but sometimes society can rob us of that power, of that understanding. And I remember someone saying to me on Twitter, she was like, Chioma, you really celebrate and cheer women on. And I really do, because I just think so many times we're facing, especially where we're facing misogyny or, what's the gender pay gap or raising our children alone. And we really can have a bad time in marriage, sometimes in relationships. And so really, and sometimes, unfortunately, as women, we can want to compete with each other. But those who know me, they know that actually my friends and those who are close to me, I cheer them on. I do not need to compete because we all have our race to run. And so for me, it's actually encouraging women in whatever race, whatever calling they've got in their heart, to find their voice and use that for the good of the world. Because they say there's that proverb that says something like, if you teach a woman, she will teach a whole nation, something along those lines. You know, if you and really for me it's about that, because if a woman knows one who they are and they value and their worth, they can change the world, or they do change the world literally. And so it really is about supporting women, cheering women, and giving them the tools. You know, so and that was the reason where we started the parenting group, and actually ended up being just women that were in that group. It was all women. So we were really saying, you know what, it's okay. We want you to know you're not alone, because sometimes in raising children, we can feel so isolated. We can think it's just me, just my teenager who's playing up. But actually, you're not alone. Knowing that, one, you're not alone. And two, knowing that you deserve love. You deserve to be celebrated. And that's why the spa is so amazing. Like, I think if we did it, when you do yours and we do ours, it'll be amazing. Come, do come. But really just, just allowing women to just take time out and pour into themselves. And I also believe this, that self-care, and I remember seeing this, that sometimes we think that you're reading my mind. Absolutely. People finding their value and their worth is the foundational passion of all that I do. That's absolutely correct. Because when we love ourselves, and I think historically we've thought that self-love is selfish. But I remember reading this and in the scriptures, and it says something like, love your neighbor as you love yourself. So actually Jesus is commanding us to love ourselves, not in a selfish manner, but loving ourselves first. Because if we don't have enough, how can we give to others? You can't give from an empty cup. And I think of it, when you fly and they say to you, the flight attendants rather, they usually would say, look after yourself first, give yourself your oxygen mask before you do that for your children. Because if we have filled ourselves up, then we can give to those around us, our children, our family, our businesses, and things around us. So really, it's about us as women knowing who we are, knowing our identity, regardless of what society throws at us, regardless of what we might encounter or what past things we might have experienced, and knowing that it's a new day, we can start afresh, and that our best is yet to come, and never giving up. Because what we see stats around women being abused by their intimate partners and all sorts of things like that. And we know that increased during the pandemic. So really it's about saying to women, you're enough. You are enough. And I've battled with that myself, like my, confidence, especially after, being in marriage for a long time and then that breaking up, being separated, it was about 18, 19 years, that can knock your confidence. And so having to build that up again and say, you know what? It's not the end of the world for me. This might have ended, but it's a new season. And it's okay to feel down about it, to feel sad, to cry. But I'm just reading everywhere. It's okay to cry and feel sad, but get up. And that's the thing, I was listening to this Judge Faith Jenkins. I don't know if you know of her. She's written a book. She's a judge and she does divorce courts. In the States, and she was talking about sis don't settle, and she was talking about how she, although she had never been married, she was determined not to settle, and it took her in her 40s before she actually got married. But she actually had dated a lot of men, but she said she needed to know who she was before she went into a relationship and before she went into a marriage. So really, for us as women, knowing ourselves, loving ourselves, knowing that we're enough.
Yeah,
we are enough, and we are here for a purpose.
I remember, Chioma, I want to hear a comment on this. Before I left my ex-husband, I went to this conference where at the conference, it was actually to learn how to public speak. But what they did at the conference is the question that they had us talking about, and we had to do it publicly, was, what is your name and who are you? And Chioma, in that moment, I couldn't answer. I could not answer. I could not say my name and I could not say who I was because I didn't know who I was. And I wasn't able to say my name. And now I can say my name is Christelle Loren. I'm a child of God. I'm a follower of Christ. I bring joy to the world, and I can say my name with confidence. But at that time,
you couldn't.
I was like, I started crying. I remember I started crying and I couldn't, and I was shaking because I couldn't say it.
Yeah.
But speak into that, Chioma. Who are you, Chioma? Tell us who you are.
Wow. Well, I am Chioma and I am enough. I'm loved by God. I love young people. I love children. And my passion is to make the world an equitable place, to see justice, to see just like Martin Luther King rather says, where our children will be accepted for who they are, not based on the color of their skin. And so for me, I am really here to really say to every woman that you're amazing, you're incredible. You might not feel it, but you are absolutely amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring joy to people, for them to know their purpose and their calling, to know that parenting is hard, but we will all get through it. And one day our children grow up and leave home. But if we haven't invested in ourselves, we lose a shadow and we become a shadow of ourselves when there's no longer children or spouse that's left. We're not enough, but we are enough, and I am enough. And that's something I have to remind myself, because some days I just like, oh, but I have to remind myself, so that's who I am. And I'm a public speaker, and yeah.
Are we in it feels like, so I want to ask you about this because I'm kind of going around, feel like there's a message for women now, and it's about healing. Do you think we're kind of in a season of healing? Is it our time to heal? And is our purpose as women to help other women heal?
Absolutely. I think women have been through, like I said, talk about at the beginning, women have been through a lot. And I think healing is so key. And it was something I did. I went to counseling. I went to therapy. I say this, that therapy saved my life, because I needed to heal from things of my past, of my childhood growing up, some feelings of insecurity there, feelings of abandonment that were there, in order to become who God created me to be. And actually, in doing that and being self-aware, because when we're self-aware, we know what we like and what we don't like. We know who we are. We know, we can see the red flags and the triggers, and we identify them for there. So I'm excited, because I do think it is our time as women to heal. Because when we're healed, as this therapist, there's another therapist I listen to in the US. He says there's a healed lens. And when we see life from a healed lens, we see differently. And it's a little bit like when you have a mirror, but a mirror that is dirty. And what you see, you don't see clearly, you don't see the full picture. But when you wipe off, and I think trauma and our past can be like that dirt that covers that mirror that is so murky, you can't even see your image. But once you do the work and you heal, you can see clearly, and you see who you were meant to be. You see the purpose that you were placed on earth for. So I'm really excited, because I think it is time, and I think women are starting to speak out. We've seen the Me Too and the Church Too movement. So women are starting to speak out and use their voice. And that's why I'm thankful for what you're doing, Christelle, giving women that voice to share their stories, to speak their truth, and to know that regardless of their past, it's never too late. And I'm so thankful also for women who support me, because even in my difficulties, actually, I so needed to hear women that have been through and are thriving today, that it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
That there's so much more for them to do, regardless of what life might throw at them.
I love hearing your children in the background. Before we started the show, they were going by and waving. And
yes.
And I said, no, Chioma, let them stay.
I was like, no, go. You can hear them. Yeah.
I love that. What, Chioma, for the woman going through a very hard time right now, what is your message to them directly?
And I'm just going to look you in the eye and say to you, sister, fellow woman, what you're going through now is a stepping stone to your future. It's a stepping stone to your blessing. Those obstacles right there are stepping stones to success. And it might be so hard. You might feel broken. You might feel like you can't see a way out. But I want you to know this, that you will come through. Do the work, talk to people, get help, and know that you're not alone. But this season right now will not last forever. And I'm reminded of yesterday seeing some clouds as I looked out my window. But right next to those dark clouds, you can see the sky clearing. And I just want you to know that the time will come when the skies will clear and you will see a new path. So don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Never, never give up. For you, for your children, for your future. Because the world needs to hear your story and your journey. And you'll be a blessing to someone else too. So never, never, never give up. And you are enough.
James quoted Toni Morrison, "The function of freedom is to free someone else." And he got that from Anne Lamott's book, Bird by Bird.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely.
And he says from Lamont as well, risk freeing someone else.
Right?
Wow. And in the midst, I don't know that we're thinking about freeing someone else. We're thinking about, how am I going to get free?
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the other side,
yeah,
perhaps what we went through will help free someone else.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because that's what I've done, where days that it's been so dark for me and I've had to, I've had phone calls. I remember it was only a couple of weeks ago, someone called me and I hadn't spoken to her, and she's an amazing minister. Another woman who's walking, Pastor Reverend Alison Johnson, and she called me and she spent time, just speaking into me. And as she left, as she was speaking, I was in tears. But for me, it's that hope, that we will rise out of those ashes as a phoenix. And Jenny says, this too shall pass. And I think that's such a powerful, that whatever you might be going through now, it will pass and you will look back and you will be free to be able to share your story. I mean, I listen a lot to, now and again, Sarah Jakes, Bishop Jake's daughter, and she talks about her story being a teen mom at 13, pregnant at 13, having a baby at like 14. And, but you see how God has used us today. Her story is inspiring so many. And so whatever your story, it will, once you get free and get to that place, you will free someone else as well with your story. And this too shall pass.
I love that. I feel like it's healing and it's freedom season and it's time. I just keep seeing the words in my head because I think visually and in pictures, but I keep seeing the words, it's time, it's time, it's time. And as women, every woman who's joined us today, I'm just like, every single one of them has such a powerful message. And you're all coming on my show, by the way. Gabriella, Ramona, Jenny, you can come back.
Yeah.
Thinking of what beautiful souls they are and how just their presence in our lives, freedom and hope and love and healing. And isn't that the kind of woman we want to be?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I always think of the next generation that come in behind us. So I have lots of sisters and one of like 5 girls and a boy. And I always think, and I have a lot of young women that I speak into, and I do, one of the things I've done, like some I've known from when they were like 14, and one, she's in her 30s, and I sometimes feel old when I think of it, that we've been through that journey, but actually we've been through the difficult teenagers. And this is why I was saying to, especially Jenny, that, she says to me, and I'm going to share a quick story as we're finishing off, and I've known her since she was 14. And she's now in her 30s. She's a mom, she's a wife. And I remember when I was going through my difficulty of separation, marriage breakdown, I remember one night she finished work after I told her what happened. And she drove all the way to my house. I mean, it took her about 40 minutes to an hour. And I remember saying to her, why are you here? I said, you've got a husband to go home to and children. But she said, Chioma, what you don't know is that all those years ago at 14 when you met me, she said, I was in a really dark place. Her dad had just passed away, and she wasn't getting on with her mom. But she said, you got alongside me and you mentored me. She said at one point I was actually thinking that life wasn't worth living. My dad is gone now and I'm not getting on with my mom. But she said, you came alongside me. And, we've been through many journeys through, universities, college. She got pregnant, and then she eventually got married. But she said, I'm so thankful for you and your support. Because, again, what we started talking about at the beginning, you were that safe person that spoke into my life, And when I think of the people coming behind me, I always think, and I think it was Gabriella that said, when someone sees you, and for us to do that for others to see them in that essence as well. Yeah. And you will get one child passing by shortly. So
I just got one hand me a coffee.
Oh, that's lovely.
The 21-year-old brought me coffee.
Oh, that's lovely.
My dear friend Melissa says, that's beautiful. I'm so touched by this. And Melissa, I'm so having you on the show too. She has such a powerful transformation story. Being seen is so important. Just when you feel like hiding and when you feel like you're not enough and when you're in that dark place, to have one person see you and to say you're worth it.
Yes.
That story you told, Chioma, is beautiful. So thank you. Where can we find you, Chioma? If women want to connect with you, where can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram, Chioma. I'm on, I think Instagram, I'm like my full name, Chioma Fanawopo. I can put it in the chat.
In the comments. Okay.
In the comments, yeah. And also on Twitter, Chioma Fanawopo. So yeah, you can find me. I'm just gonna make sure that I'm doing that correctly. You might have to post it because I think I can only see the chat.
We might put it after the show. We can put it into the comments where women can connect with you. And when you do that retreat, who knows? Maybe I'll be in the UK and I will.
That would be amazing. That would be great.
So exciting. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for sharing beautiful healing words to everyone listening. And until next time, until May. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Melissa, Jenny, Ramona. If I miss a name, it's not on purpose. It's really because I'm ADHD. So we'll be back again in early May with Gabriella. Yay. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Chioma.
Thank you for having me. Have a lovely day. Bye.